Hey guys, Bubble Joe Explode. Today I'm going to come to you how-to, and what we're going to be doing is making cardboard or paper cartridges for the Smith Carbine. So, unless you really don't want to go get more of these, which I don't know why you wouldn't, they're cheap enough. They're the little plastic rubber, mostly feels like plastic, but kind of rubbery black ones that you can get for like, I don't know, like $5, and you get like packs of 10 at Dixie Gun Works. Or the brass ones, which are like $4 a piece, and I honestly have had those get hot enough to where they seize inside the chamber, and it's hard to pull them out. So if you just don't want to go get any of those two, why not make your own? So Smith carbines were known to have something like this, very similar like this, issued to the guys back in the day when they were shooting them. If it wasn't that, it was something like this, a kind of like a heavier paper, cardboard style paper cartridge. I was looking online. A lot of the old old style, some of the original stuff from like the 1860s. A lot of it was paper, was heavier paper like this. Some of it was even fabric that was kind of lacquered. After it was rolled, it was hard, and then it was filled with powder and a mini ball or a Smith bullet. So this is where I kind of get the influence from that. And so far I've made a few of them, as you can see. I've run into a few things when making these. One, have at least one of these as your guide. This is right here would be your guide. Okay. Also note the thickness of the walls. All right, you're gonna have to try to recreate the thickness of the walls here. Also, you need a piece of paper, which is, at least try to measure better than I did, about as the same width as what you're gonna need. And when you make your paper cartridges, make them to the I don't know if I can see this, from like the very tip to about right here. There's like an eighth of an inch from like here to here, where that's just heavy plastic in the back. With the cardboard, it's kind of hard to recreate that, so just make the main chamber as with this before it starts to taper off. When you make the back with the flash hole, that's a whole different type of cardboard, so don't worry about that when you're actually rolling the paper. I thought about a few different ways to make it, like making the paper really long and then kind of cutting it and then folding it in on itself and then making a hole. But I figured these are going to be one-shot deals anyways, so I'm just going to go the easy route and make a cylinder, cut out backs, drill holes in the back, glue it to the back. So yeah, so there's a little bit more that goes into making these than other paper cartridges, only because honestly you have to recreate the wall thickness on these shells. That way they fit inside your chamber. So when you get one of these, put it inside your Smith carbine. Here's the Smith carbine. So it should go in that easy. Just like that. Enough to where you kind of have either like a slight bit of suction, or if it just goes in very easily without moving around inside the chamber. So if you got one of those two, you got the right thickness. And rolling it is the best way that I can see to recreate the dimensions of this. So that's what we're going to do today. So anyways, what you're going to need is you're going to need at least one of these as a guide. Your bullets, whether it be a Smith bullet, a mini ball, or the only thing I have right now, my cast is on its way for a 50 caliber mini, which I will be using in the future. But for right now, we're going to use the rest of these Maxi Hunters. Glue. I would use super glue, but this is all I have right now, and it's working. It is working. Just a little bit messier. Don't know why that's there. Powder measure. We're doing 40 grains. It's another thing I'll get into, but 40 grains at least. A pencil or pen. Something to kind of get down inside of the tubes, which I use this right here. This is also the same pick that I use to clean my AR-15s. Scissors. Newspaper. A piece of cardboard. This cardboard is extremely thick. I got this at Hobby Lobby. You're also going to need a dowel rod. This dowel rod I find is actually really close to 50 caliber, and it's the size of 1/2 by 36. And I got this dowel rod from Hobby Lobby. So use this one. It's pretty much like spot on with 50 caliber. And 50 caliber is like well, 1/2 inch pretty much. But anyway, something to make your hole in the back. I found that I honestly tried poking holes in the back and then kind of wheeling them out, but for time and efficiency and to make things a little cleaner, a Dremel with a correct size bit. And the bit I found is I forget what size, but it leaves a pretty decent size hole. I figure what would be as big as it would be to actually start leaking out. Don't worry about leaking out, because the way I make it with a little piece of newspaper in the hole before the powder goes in, so don't worry about that. And 2 or 3F powder. I use 2F because I want the slower burn rate, because it is a rifle. So once you've got all that, you want to take your dowel rod. You want to take your piece of construction paper. It is, what's that again? I said it is the width or the height, whatever you want to look at. The height. This one's actually a little longer. We'll deal with that here in a second. It's the height of the cartridge, and I've measured this out to be 14 inches long. I left a little bit on the end so I can play with it, just in case you cut something wrong or you measured something wrong. It is at least 14 inches long, and so that's what you want. So this is going to be the hardest part to get on camera, guys. I apologize. But you take a dowel rod and you kind of start the paper on it. Start getting it curved. Now this is the most important step in making these, guys. You have to make sure this is tight. If it just loosely falls back and forth on the dowel rod, you didn't do it tight enough. You should, once you do it, you should be able to turn this dowel rod all different, up and down, and this thing not move. That's how tight you want this thing, because you don't want that bullet sliding in and out of the cardboard. So yeah, it just won't work. So once you kind of got it, and I tested by trying to push it on the dowel rod, and I have successfully got it, but there's just something about it I don't like. There we go. There we go. I like that. So once you got it and you got it pinched under, take your glue. Okay. Keeping it tight. Keep rolling it. And once you've got it, go ahead and push it off the dowel rod. See how it's just not falling off? Okay. Compact it down. Make sure it, if it's got that spiral effect coming out, just kind of push it down, and hopefully the glue hasn't dried by then. And there you go. Essentially, you've got yourself the cartridge hole. At this point, take it to your Smith. Kind of have your Smith kind of sitting next to you, like I do, and attempt to put it in the chamber. Don't glue it shut yet, but just see if it fits. And this is an outstanding no, which I knew it wouldn't be. I made all these strips the same length, so Just do is you take your scissors and cut maybe half an inch at a time. I found that to be a pretty decent measure. Okay, not quite still. So we're going to cut another half inch off. Alright, try not to push the stuff down. Alright, take it back. Oh, and it fits. It fits. Alright, so anyways, now that it fits, make a wing, take the glue. Once again, just kind of put some glue in there. And kind of get that glue to spread all the way up to you. There we go, just like so. So there you go. So there you go. It hasn't started bending inwards. It's flush all the way across. And while we let that sit, what we're going to do is we're going to make the back. So at that point you take this piece, just move these out of the way. Okay. Take the back end. And kind of trace it like so. Okay. At that point, also find the exact middle of this thing and make a dot. It's a lot easier to get that down at this point than before it's cut off. So at that point, cut it out. Kind of trim it up. If any points on it, kind of say, hey, no points. So it's kind of sharp right there. All right, there we go. So we got a hole, and yeah. Messed up, guys. Make sure to drill your hole while it's still attached to the paper. So, now that I screwed that up, you get to watch me do this. Watch your fingers. Got your hole. Yeah, guys, drill your hole before you cut it off the paper. But anyways, same end result. So, alright guys, this should be fairly dry now. So, what we want to do is we want to find our guide again. Alright, we want to compare it. So we know that this is extremely long, because the strip of paper was a little long. But that's okay, because that's going to give us some room to play with. As you can see, I'm not measuring it from here, I'm measuring it from here. Okay, because we want the space that actually holds the amount of powder to be measured. Alright, so we're going to cut quite a bit off there. So pick an end that you feel is going to give you the most problems. And I feel that this end's going to do it. Plus it's a little thinner up here. I think it mostly it's really evened out here. Right here it's kind of tapered, so we'll go ahead and cut this tapered and put a ridge on it. But let's see how it is. And it's the shortest port is spot on. So we can actually kind of cut some of that ridge off. There we go. Perfect. Okay. So now that once you got that, find the flattest surface on either end, and I've actually got this one pretty good. But take your glue and put the glue on the rim, just like so. Take your back end and you put it right on it, and press it down. Kind of smear that glue around the sides. We're going to do this once again on its own, just to make sure that it's got a good seal all the way around. Just kind of hold it there for a little bit. If you got super glue, this isn't going to take as long. Any of the gluing is going to take as long, since we just got our good old Elmer's glue. This is what we got to work with. And then kind of roll it in your fingers. That way you know that the, oh, I feel a ridge. That, for the most part, this thing is on there. There we go. So this thing is pretty much on there. So just a little more glue shooting out the side. Keep holding it down till it dries. Now once it dries, we're going to end up putting a little bit of glue over the side and then kind of wiping it, trying to get a, because we really want this to stay on there. Once again, guys, I know it is a single shot use only, but it would be nice to actually pull this whole thing out after it's been shot and not have to fish for the back. And if not have to do, hopefully it just falls out. So we'll find out how it is when we shoot it. So anyways, 40 grains. These are reduced powder charges. That's why there's such a thick base that we're not taking into account, because you can only put about 30-35 grains into these. These, however, hold 40. Now I say, why don't you cut this shorter? Well, I kind of screwed up and did that because this sabot sat really deep in here. I was like, oh, let me just cut a little bit off the top. Turns out there's that much difference, the exact amount how much I cut off of in the length. That means when I close the Smith will come up to here, right on the back of this. If I close this one, it's going to come up to about right there. There's going to be a gap there, so we don't want that gap. I know that this doesn't exactly come right up to it and start pushing it in. There's actually a small gap inside the chamber of the Smith when this thing is in there, so I'm guessing that it's not going to be a big deal when this is in there. So, but we're not going to recreate this. When I shoot this, that'll be the first time, and we'll see what happens when you actually make a short cartridge. I'm guessing is you're going to lose a lot of pressure. Yeah, so hopefully not. Hopefully not. This thing does have a very tight seal, so yeah. So I doubt there'll be a lot blowing out the sides or breaking the action open. But yeah, I think we will lose some back pressure. So don't trim it. Make it that size. Okay. Now, as you can see, once I've put the this cardboard ass on it, that they're pretty much the same length now. So that means this cardboard is roughly the same thickness as the bottom, as this tapered bottom on this cartridge. I don't know if you could actually see that, but here. So you can see the angle. See the base of it? Yeah. Roughly the same size. The actual cartridge itself is about the same size. The only real difference is how much the space, how thick this cardboard is compared to this tapered bottom, which is really thick inside. Once again, I said this is reduced load. So, okay, this is pretty much dry. So let's go ahead take the glue. Okay, and then with your fingers, just kind of go over it. This will create another layer of sorts, and also make sure to get in the crevice of you know, the back plate, I guess you could say, and fill it in and make sure it's got a nice hold on it. So we got that. Now once that's drying, take your powder measure, and we're going to do 40 grains of powder because that's what it seems to like. Okay. Now once you got that, get a small piece of newspaper. Just a very small square. What I do is I just get a square and I kind of cut the corners off. All this does is just to help the powder from falling out the back. Before you use, poke the holes in them, poke the hole through the bottom. That way you don't have any problem with powder falling out. Okay. Now usually, sometimes I'll have to coax it with this, but it pretty much fell right where it needed to go. So that's good. So anyways, take the powder measure and pour in the powder. Yep, all powder went in. Give it a couple taps. Open this up. Now, one thing I've noticed about these is that sometimes there is a little bit of play because they are lubed. So that way, we're gonna do a little bit of paper patching on these. So once you take another strip of your newspaper, and just kind of put it around just like that. That way it actually sits in there without moving back and forth a whole lot. So just like that. Push it down till you hear some crunching, which means it's on the powder. And there you go, guys. A completed one-time use. In theory, if it holds up, check the structural integrity, use it again. But essentially a one-time use, cardboard and construction paper. Smith Carbine cartridge. Not exactly 100% historically accurate. However, it was mere pennies to buying these, even though these are pretty damn cheap themselves. But if you want to go the whole paper cartridge route, make it yourself, get a little intimate with it. That's how I make mine right here. So, anyways, guys, if you want to see me shoot these, check out my Smith Carbine videos. I'll be shooting these a lot. Check out my Smith Carbine review, and yeah, so a lot more Smith videos to come. So I know I haven't made them in a long time, but definitely getting back into the black powder, so bringing out the Smith. So anyways, guys, get ready to go shoot these. I'm gonna poke a hole in it, just so that the powder doesn't somehow get, wet or damp between now and then. And then we'll go shoot them. So, alright, guys, let's go test them out.